Boom! Welcome back to part 3 of Mind Over Chatter. Right?
Beautiful.
What's the matter? Anyway,
Nothing. What's the matter with you?
What's the matter, you? Hey! Anyway, right, I noticed that I've started doing my Les Dawson sitting, right? So I'll try not to do that.
I've not got my Frankenstein posture.
Not right. So you saw that.
I haven't got a clue what's going on.
So sit squarely. O, open body language.
Yeah.
L, lean in. Right. E, eye contact. R, relaxed.
Yeah, that was
It's
really
like the
relaxed.
There you
opposite
go.
of being relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. Gerard Egan.
I'll have to check that
Now, the
out.
person who runs this, the CEO of this place, he's called Steve Egan, and every time I say Gerard Egan, I accidentally call him Steve Egan by mistake, right? So Gerard Egan is a psychotherapist. 1975 wrote The Skilled Helper, which is a 3-stage model of therapy. Often kind of focuses on the client's problems. It's like a problem management way of working, but it's very, very based on person-centered principles, because a lot of the early stages is just listening and understanding, and then it's like trying to figure out how to set some goals and then basically tweaking those goals. That's those three stages in a nutshell, you know. Very similar to pluralism, really. You kind of like, you look at it. But it's not Steve Egan, it's Gerard Egan.
Got you.
So sorry, Steve. I keep mixing you up with a famous psychotherapist. So anyway, we're in Creativity Works Preston today. I mean, I've shown this, but I've forgot to actually mention, you know, because sometimes we record this at the University of Lancashire. Today we're at our other partner, right, which is Creativity Works Preston. Want to give a shout out to, it's a fantastic organisation. You have people like Mark here. Hello. All right, who really provide a good space for students who are not in the mainstream education to just learn creative skills and you know, get something out of education, whereas if they were kind of like stuck in a mainstream school, they might just struggle because there's a lot of more emphasis on just like maths and English and STEM subjects. And that ain't for everyone.
True.
And that's okay. So, yeah, good shout out to Creativity Works Preston. They do a lot of good work. Fantastic. And also fantastic for letting us use this space for this nonsense of a podcast. So, the last episode we talked a lot about vulnerability. That was kind of like the main topic. I brought it in. I did a terrible version of a Radiohead song at the end. We're bringing it back in now. What I want to kind of just touch upon, which I don't think I have done, is, for you, Rebekah, what was it that made you make the shift from therapist to supervisor? And then I'd also like to touch on with you, Andrew, what was it like having your last client, and what's this next stage feel like? So, you first.
I really love learning, and a lot of the places that I was at, there would be, you know, you'd be in the office and students would be around and they'd ask some questions, and I also delivered some CPD workshops, and I really found that I loved the way that blended together, and so I started getting more interested in, for me that's what supervision is, it's all of those things together, and I know how important it is, like not feeling alone, particularly with students, not feeling alone in that, and I think that's what sort of drew me to it. So initially I did the training because I wanted to learn more about how that was, but I was also okay if I then didn't become a supervisor. At least I'd have that sort of knowledge. But when we did our triads, I really enjoyed the way that I like taking complicated things and making them simple and applicable. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it really sort of spoke to that for me. But yeah, so doing CPD workshops and things like that, it found like those discussions, offering some space. I think for me what I love about it is it creates a space and it slows things down so that you're able to be vulnerable, talk about what you need to talk about, but also really look at all these different layers that when you're in the moment with the client you don't have that sort of space to do it, and bring in that psychoeducation as well and that theory as well, so it kind of drew me to it really.
It feels like it kind of drew a lot of elements together for you.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that you were really interested in, and it was almost like,
Yeah.
okay, that kind of fits that role really well.
Yeah.
And I suppose for me, being a lecturer felt very similar.
Yeah.
Because I'm same, I love learning, and a lot of the times when I'm trying to teach, I always have this idea in my head: is how would a 5-year-old understand this? And I try to explain things in that way. Hence why I keep saying things like, "What does a fishbowl mean?" You know, things like that, you know. But, so in a way, we're kind of on a similar journey with that. I feel difference is, I suppose, back to that vulnerability. Supervision is more one-to-one.
It is. And I like that part of it. I did enjoy, so I did a little bit of lecturing. I did enjoy that. But there's something about really unpacking something and going on that journey together that, and particularly how that relationship develops over time. What you need when you're first starting out in placement is very different. I supervise supervisors as well. What they need from supervision is very different. And I like that almost developmental approach to it. And I'd like that you really get to explore, because it's not about me assessing, it's not about me testing, it's not about me analysing. It's creating that space where through what we're talking about you can really start to understand, not saying how am I doing, but more about what do I observe, what do I notice in me, what do I notice in them, and then how does that then translate in the room, what's happening between us as well, and how that works. So I do enjoy that one-to-one.
Yeah, good. And a lot of that, what you're describing, is the therapeutic process, really.
It is.
Even with clients, you know. It's okay, fascinating. It's that parallel, and I think I talked about this last time I had the supervisors on, but we all had massive visors.
I appreciate that mine was the red one, by the way, when I had it standing.
Exactly, I brought you a visor. I think one of the students nicked it. This idea of like it never ends in terms of like who supervises the supervisors, and so you supervise supervisors, and the supervisor supervises you. So
yeah. I always wonder, does it ever go back? Someone else end up supervising. It's like a family tree.
It's going to have to. I mean, there's a loop there, isn't there? That's like okay. So, what about you then? What about you? You called Andrew, right?
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah.
So, I'm just wondering in terms of like, because something you said, which really resonated with me as well, is I felt that I did most of my learning, don't know why I've got my hand in, right? Whilst with seeing clients and then in supervision. Didn't feel like I'd got much learning out of the course at the time. That's just my experience, because it kind of just felt like, I mean, when it's master's level as well, it's different, because there's an expectation of more of just get on with it.
Yeah.
So it felt like basically I was like, give them some books to read. Go on, go away with those books, right? And then, you're seeing clients, right? And it was the supervisory relationship which really, really taught me how to be a therapist. Learning off the clients, learning off that. And a lot of what my original supervisor did was play tapes. What are tapes we're talking about, right? Play recordings. I didn't bring out that boom box, right? Sorry, I'm going to play my tape.
I'm disappointed.
Quiet, I'm recording. No, there wasn't any of that, right? But that was really valuable learning from my supervisor. So I'm just wondering then, Andrew, for you, how have you felt about that balance between what you learned on the course, what you learned from supervision? Was it quite an equal mix, or was a lot more from just seeing clients, etc.? Because you might have had a completely different experience to me. So.
I think it is very different learning on the course to learning with supervision, because with supervision you're analysing the process of what's going on between yourself and the client, and the unspoken communication, like what energy was in the room. And the way our supervision used to work is Rebekah would leave me self-reflective questions to go away and think about, and I found that quite helpful. So that really encouraged more independent learning. Whereas on the course, it's drilled into us about, you know, speak from the I and what's the process that's going on inside of us. We start every, it's Thursdays I have uni, so we start every morning with, right, feet on the floor, ground yourselves, ready for the day, give us one word of what you're feeling, so you do that, and then you go straight into some theory and some learning, and it's very, especially around, I found PD, so personal development group, quite challenging as well, because there's a lot of learning around what's being felt within the room and different opinions and processes, and it's just it's mentally taxing. Whereas with supervision, it would sometimes be mentally taxing where Rebekah would have to, not have to, but like try and teach me around grounding in the room, because when I'm in session with a client, I'm very grounded and focused on them. But when I go to supervision, I'm sharing about maybe 4 or 5 different clients, and by the end of it, I'm wiped out. So that was a learning curve that I might not necessarily have been taught on the course as well. So, or as in much depth in real time. So,
but it does feel like you have got a lot of learning out of the course.
Yes.
And the structure of that day is beneficial for you. But it does feel like a long day.
It does, and I think you get skills on that course that you just wouldn't get anywhere else, like how to sit in discomfort, how to be, we were talking about vulnerability before, that's something that I would have guarded fiercely before the course, and being able to be vulnerable in like a PD group or amongst your peers and lecturers takes a lot of skill, but it's only as you start working with clients you understand why the course is designed the way it is. Like at the beginning, they'd have us walking around in circles around our peers, no speaking, just eye contact and being comfortable with that uncomfortableness. And I remember thinking, and I know my other peers would agree, like, what the hell is this? What have we signed up to? But only as you with the clients, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
And I think Rebekah said something like, you kind of got to get used to being uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's kind of like why those types of activities are brought in, called experiential learning. In terms of like PD then, very, very briefly, because we've only got 12 minutes left, would you like to explain what a personal development group is and what your experience with that has been?
Yeah, so for me, my understanding is that you can be in a room with maybe 12 plus of your peers, and you've got a PD facilitator, and we're all analysing the process that is within us and sharing that outwardly into the room with our peers. And then my other peers and the PD facilitator will sort of dissect what that process is like, whether it be anger coming up for us or vulnerability, and just sharing that over about a 2.5 hour period. And it's at the end of the day as well, so it is quite intense.
I was going to say, it does feel intense. Because on the undergrad, we do like PD, and it's kind of like learning by group dynamics, which is probably like very similar to what you're talking about. A lot of it is like, are you being real honest and open, or are you holding back? Do you want to speak, but then something's stopping you? Or do you feel like you speak too much and wondering why you can't regulate? And if there's a period of silence, do you jump in to save that silence? And learning just how you are within a group. So that's kind of like the idea behind it. And I was in Rebekah's PD group, I'm allowed to say that. And I really enjoyed our PD. The facilitator was amazing, right? Love you, Leslie! Right? Actually, my colleague did some work with Leslie Wilson. Right, about 6 months ago, did some teaching with her on counselling for depression, CFD. And I said, when you see Leslie, tell her that I love her. And she did, and Leslie just went, okay, well, I don't love him back. Don't tell him I love him. Like, she's being boundaried, which is what I like, right? Because our PD group was lovely, but I've always kind of left on reflection thinking, because there wasn't any real ruptures, there wasn't any real arguments. So I'm wondering if maybe we held back because it was too, nicey nice. I'm not saying that maybe we didn't. I've always just thought, maybe, if we had been a bit more kind of honest, there might have been a bit more, because we never had any friction, did we?
No, we didn't. But I think for me, I had some of that outside of PD. So for PD, felt very safe.
Yeah.
And I felt that I could be vulnerable in that space without fear of judgment.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that on the wider course.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for myself. I did confront some quite deep things in that. When you mentioned about filling the silence, that was me. Like rescuing people out of uncomfortable. And I really went through that journey of, even for me, sometimes even PD was not doing that and letting the silence just sit in the group and stuff. So my experience of it wasn't that I was particularly holding back, but I do think that I saw a lot of that in other group dynamics where I was really uncomfortable, where sometimes things were said and you're like, oh, that's landed. And having to go away and go, is that true or not? You know, because not everything that people observe and say and think about you is accurate, but sitting with it and sort of seeing, oh, okay. So I remember making a comment once about a family member and like, you know, it's okay. And then someone turned around and went, no, it's not, is it? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's not okay. I said that so quickly, it's okay. And I went away and thought about it. So I didn't feel like I personally held back, but I did feel very safe in my PD group.
It was a safe space, definitely.
That's so interesting, because in our PD group there was a lot of conflict that came out and a lot of tears.
Yeah, and maybe that's why because I've facilitated numerous PD groups since we were in PD, and they're not all like that, but a lot of them there is conflict, there is friction, and sometimes I've had people storming and walking out, and I've had people like getting up and in each other's faces, right? And I've got to like kind of manage that. And but because ours was more like basically a lot of people sat around in a hot tub, like with like a nice little cocktail.
It was like, all I have to do is get to PD and I'll be fine.
And, so maybe that's it. Maybe
did you feel like you held back?
Once, maybe. Once. Obviously, I can't go into detail about it. There was one incident where I felt I held back, but I think it's because I thought the complete opposite of what everyone else thought. So, kind of reflecting on it, if I was in that situation now, I would have said something. Yeah. And I mean, and it's that vulnerability again. But I mean, the thing is, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying. It's just the way it's said. So if I was to say, actually, I feel completely different to what everyone else is thinking, right? Yeah. Without it like being an attack. Yeah. I think that's fine. But I mean, you know, it was like, when was it? 2014. So it's been a long time ago. And I think I've grown and developed and learned a lot since then. So maybe my thinking of that is a combination of one, like Andrew says, I've witnessed a lot of conflict, and two, maybe at times I can't think of one incident when I held back, but maybe I did it more than once. But so I think I'd just be different now.
And I think what you're highlighting there is also something that ties in with supervision, is if there isn't any challenge, are you colluding? Yeah. But then if there's challenge without safety and trust, then that can actually really disempower people. And what you're talking about, which I believe should be the same in supervision, is that balance of both, where you're being really congruent, you're being really honest about how you're feeling, but there's a trust to be able to be vulnerable with that and how it's delivered.
And that brings me back to that Ralph Little comment about vulnerability can only work if everyone's being vulnerable. And if you're in a PD group where not everyone is, then it's hard. So then you'll hold back. So, but anyway, that's a different diet. We could do a whole show on PD groups, right? But I'm aware we've only got 5 minutes, 40 seconds left, and in a way, you're the student, so you're the star of this episode. Hence why we've sat you right in the middle, right? So once again, I want to congratulate you the fact you've got to the 100 hours. Thank you. Because It is. It's a difficult journey.
It is.
It's hard work. There's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of things we've talked about. That's showing the vulnerability. And just like the client work's scary at first, like, especially when you first have a client, and to get through it, you've got support, obviously. And I'm just wondering how you're feeling now. You've got a thing called a Viva or a Viva. I never know how it's pronounced.
I say
right?
both.
You say Viva.
Viva, Las Vegas.
Why am I singing? Nobody needs to hear that.
Right, exactly.
It's energy transfer.
Energy transfer. So that's basically just for the listeners. It's almost like sometimes they call it an oral defence, which sounds awful, right? But it's just basically like they just ask you questions about your learning and your journey, and as long as you can articulate well, you know what you've done, then basically it's the final signing off, right? So how are you feeling about that, and then the next part of your journey?
I am really excited because I realise that self-reflection's my strong suit. And yeah, I'm really excited to just reflect on the journey of where I started in year 1 to year 2, and as you say, with my first client to my last client, and that level of growth. But I think the biggest thing for me that I'm going to take into that Viva is that we don't, just because we qualify from 100 hours doesn't mean we're done. Like, that's just the beginning. Whereas when I was in year 1, it was like, I just need to get those 100 hours, then I'm a professional, and it's like, oh, that was just the beginning. So I think having that understanding is, if anything, it's taken the pressure off, really. And I feel like the real work's just beginning. So it's quite exciting.
That's the thing. It's like it never ends. And that's what drew me to it, because it's constant personal and professional development. And the way I am now as a therapist, 10 years into my journey, since I started learning this in 2009, really, and going down to my level 1 person-centred, right? Qualified in 2016, so it's been 10 years since being qualified. So I'm my first client in 2013, right? And I'm so different now in therapy compared to what I was back then. And what I'm finding is these little things that I've talked about, I'm noticing energy transfers in the room are a lot more congruent. That's the big thing for me. And I'm a lot more willing to share my vulnerability with the clients. And I think everyone develops their own way of being, and you'll do the same. And you'll be a different therapist in a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And that's as you're smiling as I say it, because like that's part of the wonderful nature of this job, because you're learning from clients all the time.
I think you've got to be a special kind of geek to want to do this job as well, like to want to learn and to love it and read books and constantly, why do I do this and why do I do that? And,
and that's, I've just finished reading a book about existential therapy. I've got a book about IFS, right? That's internal family systems. Like, it never stops for me.
I'm reading about fawning at the minute. So
well, there you go then. So for the listeners, would you like to quickly simplex what you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's by Dr. Ingrid, and basically fawning, we have the fight, flight, freeze response, which is the Neanderthal brain response to protect us from danger, and it's only been recently discovered about fawning, which is taught on our course. And fawning is when you try to please the capture or the person who we perceive to be a threat to us and our safety, and it's quite common in people of complex trauma, and it's something that I realise I've been doing my whole life, and I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for the course. And it's good to spot in our clients as well.
100%. And we haven't really got time to explore that, but that model, fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right, is very useful for working with trauma patients, clients, especially if they froze, because a lot of time when people freeze, then there's a lot of guilt and regret and like beating themselves up, but the fact that maybe they should have done something they didn't, right? But basically a part of the old brain in essence went like that and took over the thinking brain temporarily, and they froze because that happened and there's nothing they could have done about it. So it's quite a useful model for people to kind of explain that it's not their fault. So okay, right, we've got 15 seconds to go. I'm not going to end it in 15 seconds because that would be ridiculous, right? I've got to have a theme tune. I've got to play a piano, right? I just want to thank you first of all, Mark, for obviously being the guy, right? Some are left, some are no longer in the house, right? Thank you, Rebekah. It's been years. Thank you for coming. You've been amazing. I've just been me, and then star of the show, Andrew and Jonathan, Andrew, right? And yeah, so thank you. It's been a pleasure. Piano. Ding 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 ding. That was meant to be chopsticks.
Can't wait to see our reactions.
Honestly, I have to watch my face because it's giving.
Meant to be chopsticks, people. Right.